Hi class, this is Mrs. Grissom. I am going to do some practice with you to prepare you for your final test a little bit more. I am going to do some of each kind of skill that you're expected to be able to do on the final exam. And I think I'm going to break it up into small videos so we can be sure that they load easily and then you can watch them as you want to. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to expect you to do on the test is identify parts of speech. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that the same word can be two different parts of speech depending on how it's used in a sentence. So here we have a part of like a paragraph with some words in bold, and we're going to identify the bold words as to their part of speech. So let's look at the first sentence. Why do we study grammar? The first word is we. Now, we is referring to people. It's naming people, but it's not giving them a specific name, is it? It's just it's taking the place of people's names. So what word, which part of speech of the 8 do that? The pronoun. You will remember that we is a personal pronoun. We use personal pronouns when we're conjugating verbs, for example. So if we keep going, why do we study grammar? Okay, grammar is not an action, so it's not a verb. It's not it's not describing something. It's actually naming something. It's naming a thing, and nouns are the ones that name things. It's naming an area of study. So that's a noun. Okay, why do we practice our writing? Okay, a lot of times when you're trying to figure out what a word is doing, look at the words nearby. Is this word modifying something nearby? Our is telling who's writing. Writing is a noun here. It happens to be a gerund. Remember, gerunds are verb forms that are acting as some other thing, gerunds specifically act as nouns. So our writing tells who's writing. Anything that modifies a noun or a pronoun is labeled adjective. So that's an adjective. Moving to the next sentence. Many students over the years. Here we have a phrase that goes together. You can hear it goes together. Over the years. So you've memorized a big list of 60 of these, so hopefully you recognize that as a preposition. The reason I know it's a preposition and not an adverb is that it has this rest of the phrase, the years. Here we have a noun acting as the object of the preposition over. Okay? Next we have struggled. When you see one of these helping verbs, that should ring a bell for you because you have memorized all the helping verbs as well as linking verbs. Have struggled. You can also see this tense ending, so that gives you a clue it's a verb. So yes, this is a verb. Both of these words together act as the verb of this clause. Okay, with these questions. Again, questions are things. It's the name of things, so it's a noun. Okay, next sentence. They sometimes argue. All right, sometimes is a funny word. You've never memorized that word in a list, so you might wonder what it is. So try looking at words nearby. They sometimes argue. What does it seem to be closely related to? Well, it's telling when or to what extent they argue. It's giving a time, some more information, modifying this verb, argue. Argue is an action, it's a verb. So any word that modifies a verb is called an adverb. Adverbs answer the question. One of the questions adverbs answer is when. And here's another one like it. They'll never need. Okay, need is another action verb, right? And this never is telling when they'll need it. So another adverb. If you have trouble identifying parts of speech, one thing you can do is look up the questions that adverbs answer and the questions that adjectives answer, and that might help you. Okay, never need diagramming in their adult lives. Okay, usually the word adult, you think of that as being a noun, it's naming a thing. But in this case, it's modifying the noun next to it. It's telling which lives. So it's an adjective in this situation. Here we have an interesting little word. Notice the comma before it. It's joining this clause and the clause above, the clause before it. It's a conjunction. Okay? You did memorize a lot of those subordinating conjunctions, so hopefully it's familiar to you too. Here we have the number one part. One could be a pronoun, but in this case, since it's describing the noun next to it, it is an adjective, one part. Which part? One part. Or how many parts? One part. Okay, the word the is an article, a definite article. A, an, and the are the three articles. All articles are always adjectives, and it's modifying the noun next to it, answer. All right, this question. The word this can also sometimes be, it can be a pronoun, a demonstrative pronoun, but in this case, what do you think? It looks to me like it's modifying the noun right next to it, question. Which question? This question. So again, we have another adjective. Okay. Here we have a verb, lies. That's not the noun form, like he told lies. This is the action of lying down. And this is a mental action, not a physical action, but it's still considered action. So this is a verb. And God here, this is a noun. It's the name of someone. You'll notice the capital letter. That's a big hint that it's going to be a noun. In particular, it's a proper noun. Okay, have you ever noticed? Okay, so here we have a word that's taking the place of someone's name. So that's called a pronoun. Again, it's a personal pronoun. Have you ever noticed how interested God is in communication? Okay, communication is a noun. Here's a word right before it that, again, you've memorized. It's a preposition. We used to say when I was a kid, a preposition is anywhere a mouse can go. A mouse can go in. That's not really very accurate. It would be into if it were physical action. But anyway, you can hopefully remember that in is a preposition. Another one of these funny words, if, you memorized it in the subordinating conjunctions. This word if turns this clause into a dependent clause. You reduce creation. If you reduce creation, it's a subordinating conjunction. All you have to list is this general term conjunction. It joins this clause to this, oops, got my wrong tool, to this clause. What do you find? Okay, but I skipped tiniest. Tiniest is modifying the word right next to it, component, which is, component is a noun. So what kind of word modifies a noun? An adjective. Okay. Is, hope you all know by now, that is a verb. It's a linking verb. Is not going to be another kind of, 99.9% of the time the word is a verb. The one time it might not be is if you were writing a sentence about the word is and you said is an interesting word, then it would be a noun. But that's never going to happen pretty much. So, okay. It communicates. Oops. Okay. Communicates. You should feel action with that. That's a verb. It's a thing happening. It's an action happening. Okay, and the last one, whale. It's the name of a thing. A blue whale. If the word an, or an article is modifying it, then you know it's going to be a noun because that's what they modify, nouns. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and make sure the sound is actually working this time, and then I'll do a few more videos to help you on each kind of skill.